A second time. I'm Natalie Brand on Capitol Hill with how support is growing among Republican lawmakers.
The federal government carries out its first execution of a female inmate since 1953. And new tech that could help you understand what man's best friend is actually feeling.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Lawmakers begin their debate on impeachment proceedings. If approved, President Trump will become the first president ever impeached twice. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the House of Representatives is set to vote on articles of impeachment today, accusing the president of inciting an insurrection. The vote is likely to pass with bipartisan support after at least a few Republicans say they will join the majority of Democrats in voting to impeach. Natalie Brand has the latest from Capitol Hill.
1 week after a mob of President Trump's supporters made an assault on the U.S. Capitol, the House of Representatives will vote on an impeachment charge against him, incitement of an insurrection.
We are debating this historic measure at an actual crime scene, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the President of the United States.
In and around the Capitol, armed National Guard members and law enforcement remain on high alert. Some Republicans say this impeachment could cause more division.
Emotions are clearly running high, and political divisions have never been more apparent in my lifetime. We desperately need to seek a path forward, healing for the American people.
But unlike the first time, this afternoon's vote will be bipartisan, with a growing group of Republicans supporting impeachment.
Looking at the impeachment article and knowing that the president incited an insurrection and now, steps out and claims he bears no responsibility, I think in my mind, at least in my conscience and what I believe my job is, there's no way I could vote no on this.
House GOP leaders say they will not pressure their members to vote one way or the other today. And on the Senate side, some Republicans have signaled they're open to considering impeachment.
The New York Times is reporting Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is supportive of impeachment proceedings, which could open the door for other GOP senators to follow suit.
I know many of them are very open to voting to convict the president. I think they're waiting to see what the articles are and what the vote is today in the House of Representatives.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has already named the 9 impeachment managers who will act as prosecutors during a Senate trial. House Democratic leaders say they will send the article of impeachment to the Senate immediately. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
For comparison's sake, it took Speaker Pelosi nearly a month to name the House managers during the first impeachment. There are security concerns again on Capitol Hill as Congress votes on impeachment. Capitals across the country are also gearing up for potential danger tied to President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. In D.C., top law enforcement officials are potentially facing an onslaught of heavily armed supporters of President Trump. Well, this comes after the FBI exposed more about the underground planning that took place prior to the Capitol assault. Law enforcement did receive a warning about last week's deadly attack on the Capitol. The FBI now says the day before the riot, a field office in Virginia warned of, quote, war at the Capitol. The agency highlighted an online thread that discussed specific calls for violence and said, quote, be ready to fight, and we get our president or we die. The FBI insists warnings ahead of the violence at the Capitol were taken seriously and were shared with other law enforcement agencies. Well, it's still a bit chilly outside, but I'm waiting for it to warm up. Michael Hayslip joins us with a first look at the forecast.
We're going to get there eventually. It's that cloud cover that was hanging up to the northwest that slowed us down a little bit. I thought we'd be closer to 50 here at the noon hour than what we were, but here's a great thing, Tanya. Check out the Skywatch Storm Tracker. While the heavier clouds are right through the central portion, hanging over Television City, as a matter of fact, as they continue to drop down to the southeast, we're going to have afternoon sunshine, so we'll easily cruise up into the mid-50s. It's not going to be too bad at all. Freeman Health System sky camera, get a little glimpse of blue sky every now and then. 47 degrees is where we're standing, so we got close to 50. Like I said, I thought I would actually get some 50s on the board right here. 46 in Oswego, 46 in Monette, 45 in Chanute. Big factor for today is not only the cloud cover, but also the gusty wind conditions. Now, we're able to avoid any advisories, watches, warnings, burn bans, but still do be very careful because our humidity continues to drop as we will have ebbing and flowing of sunshine and blue sky until the clouds really lock in overnight. And Tanya, when those clouds do lock in, oh, guess what they're going to bring? Not only a little cold front, but how about some Thursday morning showers, especially for our northern counties. Nothing severe and really not going to stick around too long. But then our temperatures drop throughout Thursday into Friday. And speaking of Friday, hey, filter in some flurries from the north while we're at it. 7-day forecast shows us the cold front, it's here to stay. But then again, it's a taste of January. That's really where our temperatures should be as we progress through the rest of the 7-day forecast. Coming up here in just a little bit, we'll talk about the humidity and also the widespread watches and warnings that we have throughout the entire Midwest. Not only for today, but with this winter storm that'll hit the upper plains.
It sounds like we got a lot to talk about. We'll get to that in a minute. Thanks, Michael. Well, the U.S. government executed its first woman in nearly 70 years. Lisa Montgomery of Melbourne, Kansas, died by lethal injection at the Federal Correctional Complex in Terre Haute, Indiana at 1:30 this morning. This after the Supreme Court denied her attorney's argument that she receive a competency hearing. They wanted to prove she had a severe mental illness that would have made her ineligible for the death penalty. A jury in Missouri sentenced Montgomery to death in 2008 for the 2004 murder of a pregnant woman. Court documents show Montgomery strangled Bobby Joe Stinnett with a rope, and while Stinnett was still alive, performed a C-section on the victim with a kitchen knife and took the baby girl with her back to Kansas. The infant survived and was returned to her family. As COVID-19 continues to surge across the country, the Trump administration announced it is releasing all coronavirus vaccine doses in the U.S. to help treat the maximum number of Americans. Efforts to give out the shots are accelerating all over the country. At the State Farm Stadium near Phoenix, more than 80,000 people have already registered to receive their vaccinations at the 24-hour drive-through site. Arizona leads the nation in per capita cases and hospitalizations. Freeman and Mercy hospitals in Joplin currently have a combined total of more than 100 COVID patients. Freeman has 55 with 4 patients housed in Neosho. 16 Freeman patients are in intensive care. Now, Mercy Hospital currently has 56 COVID patients. That's 2 more than last report. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon, listening to your pets.
New technology is giving furry friends a voice. I'm Tina Kraus with a device that reveals what your pet is trying to tell you.
And later, we're making a creamy mushroom risotto in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. A high-tech dog collar is giving canines a new voice, analyzing barks so owners know how their pet is feeling. CBS's Tina Kraus joins us with the story.
6-year-old Gato is happy playing with her owner. Or is she? This smart collar is giving the Border Collie a new voice to tell people how she feels.
With this device, we humans can understand and communicate better, more accurately, more effectively.
The AI-powered collar compares a dog's bark to a database of more than 10,000 samples from 50 breeds of canines, big and small. Moon Se-mi says the device revealed Gato gets angry when she loses a game, but feels safe at home even when she's alone.
When dog barks, that signifies there's some need for dog.
South Korean company Pet Pulse says its algorithm can determine a dog's 5 emotional states: happy, relaxed, anxious, angry, or sad. The more barking data they get, the more accurate the results. U.S. company Aquilon developed similar technology to translate a cat's meow. Meow Talk is an app that helps owners better understand their feline friends. Creators of these devices say listening to our pets is especially relevant during the pandemic, when many people are choosing to adopt pets to have some company at home.
But unfortunately, some of them abandon their dog due to miscommunications.
Pet Pulse marketing director Andrew Gill says the smart collar is crucial to help dog owners understand their pets' emotions and what triggers them. Something puppy dog eyes can't always reveal. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Well, the smart collar sells for $99, but there's some bad news for those dogs who prefer an easy lifestyle, as it also includes an activity tracker to work out how many calories your pup has burned. Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Grab your culinary passport and your appetite, because today we're making a dish from northern Italy. It's risotto, and it's creamy, easy to love, and so versatile.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
I knew if I held out just a little bit of hope here, we'd find some 50s before we were done with the KOAM News at Noon, and sure enough, we just had Anderson and Grove bump back up there. My good friend Mike down in Goodman. Mike, appreciate all the weather info you send, and congratulations. You're among the clubhouse leaders right now. We're slowly seeing people begin to creep up into the high 40s. Miami will be next up there. A little bit cooler up to the north, but still can't beat it for this time of year. Here's what slowed us down. Earlier this morning, we had just a southwest to northeast fine line of cloud cover. Oh, really, everything was sitting up here. But as this barreled down to the southeast, obscured our sun, slowed our temperatures. But here's the positive aspect of it. Instead of this thing just completely filling in, you'll notice it begins to break up to our northwest. And so eventually here, by the time we get into the afternoon hours, everything dives off and we'll be the recipients of some of that clear blue sky. On top of that, we've got to talk about wind. Let's run through our color codes really fast, and we'll talk about the winter storm warnings that they have up here in the upper plains. But I want to point out the tan colors, because those are either going to be high wind advisories or also special weather statements telling you you can't burn outside, it's just too windy, it's too dry. And then the pink indicates high wind warnings. I mean, we just barely skirted out of the way of that. And even with that being said, we've picked up some impressive gusts so far, up to 30 miles per hour here in Nevada. Joplin Regional Airport got close to 30, Chanut's right there. And our humidity will continue to drop. So I just encourage you to be on the safe side, just kind of follow the advice of everybody out to our west, and then probably avoid any outdoor burning today. You know, we talk about with the new year, it's going to be a better year than last year. I found this pretty interesting. Look at our records for this January 13th. You know, 1996, you must have walked outside and been like, my goodness, 70 degrees in the middle of January. And then 1 year later, just 1 year later, 4 below zero. Now, we've got a cold front coming in. Luckily, we're going to be able to avoid any negative numbers, thank goodness. What we're going to see is this low-pressure system really dominate the upper plains. Remember, we talked about the winter storm warnings up in portions of Minnesota, kind of tracking into Iowa somewhat. And while we'll get a little bit of that fallout as it follows the jet stream down through the 4 states, our air mass is going to be a whole lot drier than the precipitation that's going to move from west to east. However, it's also going to be able to pull down that cold, cold air and give us quite a change from what we're going to feel this afternoon. Now, once the blue sky is there and the sun reemerges, we'll get up into the mid-50s. Of course, we talked about the wind and whatnot. But this is kind of a key factor, too. We've had these real chilly mornings, even though we've been able to make it up into the 50s. But the clouds will reemerge and actually give us a very pleasant overnight and early Thursday morning before we begin the cold. So one thing we'll be following tomorrow is the emergence of the rain up to our north, because it is going to take a southerly sink. It's not going to be widespread, and we're not looking at anything severe, no thunder, no lightning or anything like that. And really kind of a quick hitter as it begins just in time for the morning, but then looks like it's going to sweep out by the noon hour. Majority of the accumulation really going to be east of the Ozarks up through central Missouri. But now watch our temperatures. There comes the cold. We follow that up with some Friday flurries that drop in from the north as well. It's not going to be enough to have anybody worry about school or snowmen or anything like that. And then as we get into the weekend, the sun reemerges, but the cold pretty much here to stay, as we'll ride seasonable temps in the 40s and drop down into the 20s each night.
Not a
little
bit of everything.
That's what I got.
Yeah, you got it. We got our sunshine coming in today.
Yep.
We got rain tomorrow.
Rain tomorrow.
Might have flurries
on Friday.
We'll take it all.
Should be a nice weekend, though.
There you go. I like that. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, 3-time Purple Heart recipient Scott West in the U.S. Army. The soldier served as an airborne paratrooper with the 5th Squadron 7th Cavalry Regiment based out of Fort Stewart, Georgia. He fought overseas from 2004 to 2005. West lost both of his legs in battle while saving his platoon. He was awarded the Bronze Star of Valor and 3 Purple Hearts for his service. To Specialist Scott West, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Today we're cooking Italian, and it's a dish that's so easy to make you're going to wonder why you didn't try it sooner. Howard creates a creamy mushroom risotto in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
What do you say I share a recipe with you that in the past you may have been intimidated by? It's risotto, and it originates in northern Italy. Over the years, it's become crazy popular here in the States. And once you find out how easy it is to make, you'll wonder why you didn't make it sooner. The first thing you want to do is warm some chicken broth in a saucepan, and we'll come back to this in a sec. Now, in a large saucepan, we saute some onions and mushrooms in a little butter until they're tender. Then we stir in some arborio rice, garlic, and a bit of wine. And cook that until the wine is absorbed. Now here's the trick to making creamy risotto. Slowly add in the warm chicken broth, 1 cup at a time, stirring it until it's absorbed. Right before serving, stir in a bit more butter, some Parmesan cheese, parsley, and pepper, and it's done. See, I told you it was easy. And once you take your first forkful, I have a pretty good feeling that this will become part of your monthly dinner routine. You could even add some cooked shrimp or chicken to it. To get the recipe for our creamy mushroom risotto, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a Northern Italian way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
I remember overnight temperatures certainly not too bad as we managed to hang in the 40s. Then we got some light rain that moves in for Thursday morning. Follow that up with a cold front, and then we even see some flurries for our northern counties by the time we get to Friday. So get out and enjoy a beautiful 4-state afternoon. Tanya, I just stuck my head back outside. We got blue sky and sunshine over the mothership.
All right, let the warm up begin. Well, coming up tonight at 5, research shows many people are putting off doctor's appointments and emergency care during the pandemic. Why doctors say it's safe to go to a clinic or hospital, and delays in diagnosis and treatment could lead to bad outcomes. Plus, the Columbus School District loosens its mask requirements for students and staff. We'll tell you why. And health departments across southeast Kansas make plans to enter phase 2 of the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. We'll have details. Join us for those stories and more tonight at 5.
All right, thank you all for joining us here at noon. Tanya and I will see you again tomorrow morning.
And the rest of the team will see you right back here at 5 o'clock.